Welcome back to the David Pakman Show.
Welcome back to the David Pakman Show. I want to amend something from the last segment. I don't actually think, now that we've discussed it, I don't actually think that sexual abuse is the same as the child preacher. I want to make that clear. It is. I've been convinced that it is different. I still see abusive qualities in it, right, but it is not the same, because I know I will get email. I've rethought it. It's not really my position. Let's talk about new members that I want to welcome to the David Pakman Show membership program. Members of the week, Wilbert Stallworth, as well as Basil Angelopoulos, not to be confused, remember, Lewis, with Basil Marceau from IamBasilMarceau.com fame from the last election. Two completely different people.
Right.
Very, very clear on that. And if you do any Amazon.com shopping, log on to DavidPakman.com, click through and bookmark the banner to Amazon on our website, and do all of your shopping through that link. You'll be supporting the show. If you don't like Amazon, you'll be diverting some of that Amazon blood money, so to speak, to our program, which is fine too.
Why not?
David Gregory has compared or likened Rick Perry's talk of Texas secession from the Union to Barack Obama's health care law in what I think is a classic example of the false media equivalencies that we've been talking about for really years at this point, that everything has to be on the one hand and on the other hand. And I have the video for you. Take a listen to what David Gregory had to say about this.
Similar campaigns at some point. Sometimes you couldn't tell that Perry Obama would be a picture of sharp contrast.
You know, Perry talked about potentially seceding from the Union.
Yeah.
Do you think that's extreme? Well, people on the other side think introducing health care reform for the whole country is akin to European socialism. Again, that role of government in our
Okay, so some people are already emailing me saying, you know what? I predict you're going to talk about this, David. And all Gregory said is that some people consider Obama's health care reform to be just as crazy as Texas secession talk, and that some people consider national health care to be equivalent to socialism. But David Gregory is not saying he thinks it. I understand that. He is still putting it in the same sentence. If David Gregory really was going to be honest, number one, he knows that having national health care is not socialism. And number two, he knows it shouldn't even, or he should know, it should not even be mentioned in the same sentence as seceding from the Union. This is, I mean, come on. Thinking that Texas maybe should secede from the Union is the same as thinking every person deserves access to basic health care without paying for it?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's hard to tell if he's just commenting on what people think or if he's saying the two are equally crazy.
That's the argument conservatives are making. I'm making the argument that it doesn't matter. Just by putting it in it's so absurd. The comparison is so absurd that even putting it in the same sentence is the false media equivalency. I don't know if Natan agrees with me on that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. David Gregory, by being supposedly an impartial journalist, and by saying that one extreme is what he says about Rick Perry and the other extreme is what people say about Obama's healthcare plan, he's skewing the entire political spectrum to the right, just like the Republicans want.
It's the exact example of keep moving the left, or rather keep moving the right further to the right, and then by definition that moves the middle further to the right. We should not even be discussing these things in the same sentence. And, you know, NBC and MSN...
But what should the comparison have been?
There is no comparison. This is a
Should he have brought up birthers? I mean, what?
No. Well, birthers are also on the right. Here's the thing. NBC and MSNBC have a few conservative-leaning individuals who think they're keeping things fair and balanced because on the whole, MSNBC likes to put out a more liberal product, as we know. Every time the Republicans do or say something crazy, reporters like David Gregory make a special effort to come up with something the Democrats say. And in this case, there is no comparison. It's just about Rick Perry.
Exactly. This proves that the Republicans are much more successful than Democrats at getting the mainstream, supposedly impartial media to use their talking points.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And it's putting the mainstream corporate media in a position where they say, anytime we talk about something from the right, we have to balance it out with something from the left to not appear to be biased, as ridiculous or unrelated as it may be. And the distinctions between Rick Perry and Obama are real, but they have nothing to do with health care. Here's what they have to do with. Here's what happens when somebody that Rick Perry doesn't agree with shows up and wants to talk to him. Rick Perry ridicules them, doesn't engage them, and walks away. Take a look at this.
I'm kind of curious what the current
Well, for one thing, I don't know where you see all of our data is.
What's the point of the Texas?
You gonna let me answer?
No, okay, that's
it. You obviously don't know what you're talking about, bro.
I'm just reading your numbers. Sorry.
No, you're not. How are you?
All right, so as you can see, Rick Perry getting very, very sarcastic, pointing a finger, poking the guy's chest who disagrees with him about some kind of budget numbers. It's hard to even hear what's going on.